Hello YouTube! This is shintigercurl, that dude in the straw hat, bringing you yet another wrestling review. I'm of course joined by my co-host and fellow internet superstar, Joe. Say hi, Joe. He's mad he hasn't been on for a while. Anyway, it's Thursday night. You know what that means? Time for some Impact. It's the go-home show before this Sunday's pay-per-view Hardcore Justice. Yes, TNA has a pay-per-view this Sunday. So, is it any good? How are they going to build this up? I got my notes. Let's get started. Immortal have already hit the ring, sans Hogan and Bischoff, which is a good thing. Bully Ray's on the mic, and he's pretty much talking up every member of Immortal, except for Anderson, whom, as you may have saw last week, or did not see last week, the two of them have some issues. I will say this. Why would they have Anderson join a group and not only lose the world title, but go on to have a feud within the group and when he's not even a month into the group? Well, whatever. It appears that Anderson and Bully don't really get along, and the two of them have some words, which triggers Anderson to challenge Bully Ray this Sunday at the pay-per-view. Bully Ray agrees, and then we have the two of them scrapping with the rest of Immortal trying to pull them apart. Fortune comes down, and they decide, hey, you guys beating up on each other, let's get in on it. So they rush the ring, they fight off, and that ends that. Opening segment was short, about 8 minutes. First matchup. Madison Rayne versus Miss Tessmacher, with Mickie James providing commentary with Taz and JB. This was, I'd say, is a bit better quality of matchup than we're usually seeing from Knockouts. Certainly a lot better than what the Divas are doing nowadays, and that's saying something. In the end, it was a very quick match, which is pretty good, and Miss Tessmacher picks up the win. Madison Rayne decides to attack her from behind, but Mickie says she's not going to have it until she is jumped from behind by Winter and Angelina Love, whom she has a match with. Winter she has a match with this Sunday. Let's see. Next match, Devon versus AJ Styles, Bound for Glory Series matchup. Devon, this was actually a pretty good match. Devon seems to be adapting his style to a more singular format, much like Bully Ray. It's been slow, but he's been getting a good singles run right now. Outside, the Pope starts making time with Devon's sons and his wife. Quotations on the wife. Then Daniels comes out for some reason, sits down, and just watches the match. This, of course, distracts both of the competitors in the ring, but not enough that would actually matter in the match. Surprisingly enough, Devon pulls out the win and picks up 7 points off AJ Styles. Now, I'm not saying that Devon is going to be world champion. He's nowhere near that. I'm just saying it's very surprising that Devon picked up a win over the best wrestler in the entire company. Outside, Devon is having words with the Pope about being near his family, while AJ and Daniels continue to have some kind of spat about what we don't know. This has been brewing since Destination X, so maybe it's going to lead to something. We also get some reports that the Pope, surprisingly enough, at a house show, was able to pick up a win, so he's on the board. So that means that Samoa Joe is the only one on the board on the whole series that has no points. Speaking of which, next matchup, ironically enough, Pope versus Joe, Bound for Glory series, and with Matt Morgan providing commentary. If you probably haven't heard yet, Morgan has been shelved with an injury, so he will not be able to compete for the rest of the series, so he's effectively out. This was still a subpar matchup. There was a lot of running around and juking and jiving, and at the end, Pope tries to go for a pin, but ends up in a Kakina clutch, taps out immediately, The ref calls it, and I'm like, wow, Samoa Joe won a match. He's on the board. But Joe enters his O face and refuses to let go of the choke. The ref says, I'm gonna reverse it if you don't let go. So that's what he does. The ref reverses it, so Joe, that whole win meant absolutely nothing. Joe still has 0 points. Remember back in the day when Samoa Joe was one of the most feared and respected wrestlers on the indie circuit? What happened to that Joe? What happened to the Joe that went 30 minutes against Kenta Kobashi in Ring of Honor? What happened to the Joe that ran roughshod over the X division for a year? What happened to that Samoa Joe? Because what happened to your balls, Joe? You dropped your balls. Look, here. I'm writing you a number to a private investigator. Maybe he can help you find your balls, because apparently you've lost them. Joe goes apeshit and backstage cuts a promo that I would have believed if he wasn't looking weaker than Ted DiBiase Jr. at the moment. And Joe agrees with me. This Joe, not you, Joe. Sucks. Backstage, Robert Roode and James Storm are talking. Storm has a street fight tonight against Mexican America's Hernandez, and he injured his back in that brawl at the start of the show. Roode says that he can't afford him to get any more injured, so he decides to take his place. Moving on to our next matchup, Hernandez versus Robert Roode. Street fight. I wasn't feeling this match. It was, I don't know. I just wasn't feeling it at all. Maybe it's because I don't like Mexican America, or I don't know. Long story short, Hernandez wins due to shenanigans. Although how you can get shenanigans in a street fight, I don't know, but they somehow did it. Next matchup, Austin Aries, greatest man alive, versus Alex Shelly. I will say, best match of the night. This was by far the best match of the night. Very technical, very high offense. Austin Aries continues to show why he is greatest man alive. And Joe agrees. A-Double then at one point puts on Alex Shelley's jacket and prepares to use it as a weapon. The jacket has little metal studs in it, so the ref takes it. Shelly tries to go for sliced bread when the ref's back is turned, but is pushed in the corner. A-Double hits a low blow and then hits the brain buster. 1, 2, 3. Austin Aries wins. And then he proceeds to browbeat Alex Shelley until Brian Construction Paper Kendrick jumps in the ring. Favorite match. Next up, we have some Eric Young dumb shit. I swear, I think Eric Young and Santino Marella are talking to each other behind the scenes, having a little competition about who can be the most annoying dumb shit in professional wrestling. That's the only explanation, because just when you think one of them can't be any more stupider, I'm looking at you, Santino, with that fucking hand puppet. Then you have freaking Eric Young running around with a fucking Grizzly Adams beard on. Shit. Next up, Kurt Angle is talking backstage about his empty arena match he had with Sting in 2009. Nothing much. If you haven't seen it, it's pretty okay. It's not Rock versus Foley, but it's okay. Next matchup, Sting and Steiner and Gunner versus Crimson and RVD, Bound for Glory series match. It was a pretty damn good tag match. Now, I know I'm not high on Gunner or Crimson, but this match actually made them look good, look credible for once. RVD picks up the win for his team, and it should be noted that this Sunday it will be him and Crimson for 7 points. Now, mind you, at this point, both RVD and Crimson are the top two in the series. So whoever picks them up will definitely be the number one after Sunday. Next up, we have the contract signing between Kurt Angle and Sting for their world title match this Sunday. After signing the contract, they both cut very good promos about. Angle talks about how Sting is one of the most respected and well-loved wrestlers. He hasn't done any politicking. He hasn't screwed anyone over. He's known for his etiquette and his being just a nice guy out in and out of the ring. Sting cuts a great promo, not being crazy Heath Ledger Joker. He was just being Sting, and he talks about how Kurt Angle, when people come up to him and ask him who the greatest wrestler who the greatest all-around wrestler that he's ever been in the ring with, he always says Kurt Angle, and he talks Kurt Angle up a good game. And that's how it is. And he just said that he wants to bring the company back to Dixie Carter, and that this Sunday, you won't have to kill him, but he'll definitely have to come close if he wants to take that belt from him. And that's Impact. My thoughts? This was actually a pretty good show. It actually had more good matches than Raw had this week, and that's saying something. It had some pretty good matches. The only one I didn't care for was the street fight. A-Double versus Shelly was off the charts. The Bound for Glory series continues to be interesting. Devon went over AJ. It was never many talking points. Not many talking segments, and the ones that were very short. And the ending between Angle and Sting was actually played very emotionally and dramatic. Sting was not being his crazy usual self. He was being Sting, and that's what I like. It's just Sting being Sting. But anyway, that's Impact. So it's pretty watchable. If you're used to TNA bullshit, it just really wouldn't affect you, but it's watchable. So that's Impact. Tune in tomorrow when I review SmackDown, and from what I've heard of the spoilers, poor Zack Ryder. Yeah, you heard me. Poor Zack Ryder. Anyway, until then, this is shintigercurl, that dude in the straw hat, and Joe, saying goodnight and wrestle on.